So this story's been bouncing around. We will attempt to tackle it. We have learned that there is mutual interest on behalf of the Knickerbockers as well as Maverick leader Jason Kidd, the vacant head coaching job after Tom Thibodeau was whacked as coach. He was poleaxed, said bye-bye. So let us discuss the question. Are you going to buy or sell? Buy or sell Jason Kidd being interested in the Knickerbockers coaching job? You know, buy or sell. So I've got floor and decor, cotton candy, and chainsaw. And we will combine these things together, and we are going to make the gabagool. We're going to make the gabagool. So to lead off here, I am going to buy this. I am going to buy that Jason Kidd and the Knickerbockers are playing footsie, and there's a public courtship that's going on right now. Jason Kidd had the rug pulled out from underneath him when the very shady deal happened, where it was not a deal. Like a trade is where you get something that is as good as what you gave up. No one who knows basketball believes Anthony Davis, who gets hurt when he gets out of bed in the morning, is an equal to what the Mavericks traded in Luka. So they dumped Luka for a bag of stale bread. Not sliced bread, stale bread. And while having Jason Kidd as the face of the Mavericks, so he was out there because Nico Harrison was in hiding. He was in the fetal position sucking his thumb. So Jason Kidd was the one that had to go in the front, and he had to take the shrapnel for that trade. And it would make sense. Jason Kidd, his entire time as a coach has been a COF. Now, what is a COF? That would be a coach of fortune as he bounces around the NBA from team to team. Now, most coaches are like this, but Jason Kidd has coached 700 games, over 700 games now in the NBA. He started out with the Brooklyn Nets. He was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, and then he got whacked from that job, and then a couple years later he took the job in Dallas. So when you have Jason Kidd, it's like a trip to Floor and Decor, and you're buying the carpet because he's a carpet bagger. Jason Kidd is a carpet bagger. The Knicks are going to pay him more than the Mavericks are, and that's a better roster now. Now, who knows what's going to happen in the offseason, but right now we do the show today, and right now the team has a better roster in New York, and they're in the Eastern Conference, and there's less good teams in the Eastern Conference, so you're just better off there, right? And in Dallas, you'd have to coach the fragility of Anthony Davis, very fragile, and the ticking time bomb of Uncle Drew. Kyrie Irving, he's been on his best behavior here. However, how long will that last? It's been a little bit. At any moment, kaboom with Kyrie. Then you have the wild card, Cooper Flag. Do the Dallas Mavericks draft the prodigy from Maine who went to college at Duke, or do they trade the pick? And who do they trade the pick for? What do they get? Anyway, those are all unanswered questions. But I buy the story. It's out there. It's been bouncing around. And so normally the way these things work in the NBA, with rare exceptions like the Luka trade, these things are floated. La, 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 la. And then they're floated for a couple of days, and then eventually they happen. Now, furthermore, we switch sports. We go to Pittsburgh, the land of the Yinzer. Follow-up to the follow-up. Aaron Rodgers, yet again, filling the content machine. We read that Aaron Rodgers, it turns out, was not the first choice. He was not the second choice. Would you believe? Aaron Rodgers was the third choice.
Number 3.
For the Pittsburgh football team, behind Matthew Stafford and Justin Fields. Believe it or not. Again, that's the story that's bouncing around, that the Steelers actually wanted two other quarterbacks, and then they settled for Aaron Rodgers. Believe it or not. So after a minutes-long deliberation, including all the available evidence, all of it, I am not a believer. I am not. I am agnostic on this. And this is what's called a cotton candy story. Somebody's delivering the cotton candy, trying to pump up Justin Fields. Right? That's the first thing. It's like, Justin Fields sucks. He sucked for the Bears. He was crap for the Steelers. He'll be terrible for the Jets because that's what he is. He's a bad quarterback. But he's got high upside, and he's really good at those highlights. Those highlights on social media, he looks great. Watching a real game, not so good. Anyway, so you've got that. But it's also more than just praising Justin Fields. It's a shot. It's a poke the bear, or in this case, poke the quarterback situation in Aaron Rodgers. It's an insult. It's an insult to Aaron Rodgers. An absolute insult. Painting the picture here that they backed into Aaron Rodgers like he was like you're at the bar and it's closing time and there's one woman left. You're like, all right, well, not really my type. But, it's closing time. And so now Aaron Rodgers, we needed a quarterback. Nobody else wanted to hang out with us. And so the bar is closing. So all right, fine. Phooey! Matthew Stafford was not going to leave the Rams to go to a worse team and live in Pittsburgh. That wasn't going to happen, right? You can ram it all day, you can ram it all night, but you can't ram it in Pittsburgh. And he was never, ever even that, maybe like one conversation, never in that deep with the series. And then Justin Fields. Does anyone believe there's even a grain of truth in Justin Fields? Are you that stupid? Let's go back to last season. So Justin Fields took over at the beginning, played a while. It was not that great. It was average. And then Russell Wilson took over, and he was fine for a little bit. And then he started riding the vomit comet in Pittsburgh. And at no time did the coaching staff, at no time did the front office say, let's go back to Justin Fields because that's our guy. They didn't do it. They knew going into a playoff game that Russell Wilson was cooked, that he couldn't play anymore. They still played him. And so we're supposed to believe that they wanted to bring back Justin Fields, that was the guy? Come on. I mean, are you that naive? Seriously. What's wrong with you? All right. Anyway, now the last thing. Now, I love this story. I've got some audio I want to play for you. So it involves the tax man. During the Stanley Cup final game on Turner, we saw the game last night, which was not much of a game. Florida dominated. They led from pillar to post. So it's 2-1 Panthers over the Edmonton Oilers. But this is not about that. Instead, it's a brouhaha that happened on television. You've got that Weasley commissioner, Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, who popped up on the TNT hockey studio show. So they had this little hockey studio situation, and things got a bit heated. Now, I don't want to make this too dramatic. It was not a Shakespearean drama, so it wasn't that. But during this situation, you had Gary Bettman get into it with Paul Bissonnette, one of the panelists on TNT. And he had shared his opinion on the fact that the Florida Panthers are unfairly benefiting from the fact that the politicians in Florida do not stick it to the citizens of Florida like they do in California and other places with the high taxation, which is obscene in most of these places. So that was his point. He's like, listen, play for Florida. It's a good team, and you get to keep more of your money, which seems pretty obvious that if things were equal, why wouldn't you rather go there? Like, it's just obvious that makes sense. Well, the question was posed to Gary Bettman, and he gave a very wordy rebuttal. Take a listen.
Any plans maybe in the future to implement a balance as far as the no state tax? And
no, when you start,
I'm just asking.
It's a ridiculous issue. When the Florida teams weren't good, which was for about 17 years, okay, nobody said anything about it. And, for those of you who played, okay, were you sitting there with the tax table? No, you wanted to go to a good organization in a place where you wanted to live, where you wanted to raise your kids and send them to school. You wanted to play in a first-class arena with a first-class training facility, with an owner, an organization, a GM, and a coach that you were comfortable with, and you wanted to have good teammates so you'd have a shot at winning. That's what motivates it. Could it be a little bit of a factor if everything else were equal? I suppose, but that's not it. And by the way, state taxes high in Los Angeles, high in New York. What are we going to do? Subsidize those teams?
All right, so that was the long answer, the long-winded answer from the commissioner of hockey. So we'll sum it up like this. The NHL commissioner, you just heard it, Gary Bettman calling Paul Bissonnette's concern about the advantage that the Florida teams have with the tax situation. He said it was ridiculous. Do you agree? All right, so I'm going to disagree on this. This is a disagreement, and I heard it, I watched it, and this is classic sugarcoating by Gary Bettman. Right? He wants to protect the image, the illusion of the parody and all that stuff, and even if it's just an illusion, want to kind of advocate it because a lot of people don't dig that deep. They don't get into the weeds and whatnot. And Bettman, at this point, he has been a corporate weasel, an empty suit for how long? I mean, my God, he was an assistant for David Stern, who was the NBA commissioner when the Hockey League hired him. The NHL hired him, and he's still there after all these years. Stern's died, and he's left the commissioner in the NBA, and Gary Bettman's still plugging along here. And it's like, he spent so much time in boardrooms in Manhattan, and he's just, I know what he's doing. I get it. I don't agree with his position on this. There is a reason that Gary Bettman, when he makes an appearance in public, he gets booed. Like it's like if they put Nickelback up at a Metallica concert, how much they would be booed, right? Or some boy band or something. So now let me explain. I'm going to explain this like you're a child, okay? Like you're in kindergarten. I'm going to explain it. In Florida, there is no state income tax. In California and in New York, if you happen to play for one of the teams there, those guys get their paychecks, and Uncle Sam comes over, and he's got a chainsaw, and he starts chopping away at the money. That's their money, right? That's their money. Now, you don't think that matters? You're talking about millions of dollars if you're playing, over a period of time in hockey. And so you can do the same exact job in the same business, right? You get paid less if you're in a state with the taxes. So the politicians, like in California, if you play for the LA Kings, you're getting taxed so they can spend money to repurchase cop cars that were burned up in the rioting the other day, right? They had a bunch of cars got burned, so you got to buy those, and so it's simple math. Like the tax breaks sweeten the deal, and to think that that's not a fact, it's ridiculous. No, you're being ridiculous. It absolutely, and who cares what happened, for 17 years ago or whatever? I mean, who cares? We're going by what's going on right now. That's what we're going by.